Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to tackle some big questions about, well, human existence, drawing on some really powerful sources.
That's right. And today we're doing a deep dive into happiness itself. We're looking at why it's so hard to, live well, using Jonathan Haidt's The Happiness Hypothesis as our guide.
Yeah.
It's this amazing blend of old wisdom and new science.
Yeah, it really is. Our mission today is trying to figure out why knowing what's good for us often isn't enough? Why do we struggle so much to actually do the things that make life better?
Exactly. We'll be looking at sort of the mind's operating system and then getting into practical ways from ancient ideas to modern psychology to find more meaning and flourish.
And Haidt kicks things off with this absolutely brilliant metaphor, the one that kind of unlocks everything else, the writer and the elephant.
Ah, yes, that's the core, isn't it? The divided self. It's an old idea. William James talked about it, but Haidt really brings it to life with modern research.
So the mind isn't just one thing, it's divided.
Yeah, think of it more like a committee. Lots of different parts, sometimes working together, sometimes, well, not so much. The writer, that's your conscious, rational mind. The part that makes plans, talks, thinks logically. Michael Gazzaniga called it the interpreter module.
The interpreter module, I like that. It suggests it's doing more than just thinking, it's explaining.
Precisely. It's like your internal press secretary.
Yeah.
It's constantly cooking up these plausible stories to explain why you did what you did, even if it has no clue about the real deep down reasons.
So it's rationalizing after the fact.
Often, yes. It's a spin doctor for the elephant. And the elephant, well, that's the other 99%. It's the emotional, instinctual, automatic part of you. Huge, powerful, doesn't use language. It's where all the energy and drive comes from.
Okay, so the big challenge then, psychologically speaking, is that the tiny rider is trying to steer this massive elephant.
Exactly. And if the elephant wants to go left or get spooked or is just plain tired, the rider can argue all it wants, but it's not going anywhere.
So recovery growth. It's not about strengthening the rider's arguments.
Not primarily, no. It's about learning how to train the elephant, how to guide it, calm it, motivate it effectively. That's the real work.
Okay, let's unpack the rider's limitations first. This idea that it's obsessed with consistency. That takes us straight to cognitive dissonance, doesn't it? Leon Festinger's work.
Absolutely. Cognitive dissonance is that uncomfortable feeling you get when you hold two conflicting ideas or when your behavior doesn't match your beliefs. Like deep discomfort.
And the rider hates that feeling.
Hates it. His primary job, almost above all else, is to reduce that dissonance, to make things feel consistent again.
So if you can't easily change the behavior,
You change the belief, or you rationalize. You gave the classic example earlier, the health nut who suddenly eats a huge slice of cake.
right, I'm healthy versus I just ate that. Dissonance.
Big time. So the writer jumps in. Maybe it says, okay, extra workout tomorrow, changing future behavior. More likely, though, it adjusts the thought, oh, I earned this. Dark chocolate has antioxidants, one slice won't hurt. It makes the inconsistency consistent.
It's fascinating how this happens automatically after almost any decision. Post-decision dissonance, you called it.
Yes, exactly. You buy a new phone, let's say.
Yeah.
Instantly, you start thinking about the cool features on the phone you didn't buy.
Buyer's remorse kicks in.
Right. And to quell that discomfort, what do? You start emphasizing how great your new phone is and simultaneously downplaying all the good things about the one you rejected. The writer is basically running interference to make you feel good about the choice you already made.
Wow. And this gets even trickier when outside pressure is involved, like rewards or punishments.
Oh, yeah. Forced compliance. If someone makes you do something you don't agree with, say with a big threat or a huge reward.
You do it, but you don't really change your mind inside.
Exactly. The writer can easily say, well, I only did it because of the threat or reward. The dissonance is low because there's an external justification. But if the pressure is just enough to get you to comply, but not overwhelming,
Then the dissonance is high.
very high, and that forces a real internal shift. You either have to genuinely change your private belief to match the behavior, or you have to devalue the person or reason that forced you. The writer needs internal harmony. It'll twist things to get it.
So clearly the writer isn't this purely logical machine we sometimes think it is. It's more like a biased lawyer for the elephant's feelings.
That's a good way to put it. Now, Freud looked at this whole internal struggle too, but from a very different angle, all about pleasure and drives.
Right, Freud's economy of happiness. For him, it was simpler almost. Happiness is getting your drives met. Suffering is not getting them met.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Suffering comes from the world, or even your own internal rules, saying no to what you instinctually want.
But we can't just act on every impulse. Society would fall apart. So we need defenses.
We do. And Freud saw these defenses, these ways of controlling impulses. He called them higher psychical authorities, like the ego managing the id as necessary. You see parallels with things like meditation or certain philosophies aiming to quiet the drives.
Taming the elephant, basically.
Taming the elephant, yes. But Freud saw a big downside. Control comes at a cost.
The cost being less intense pleasure.
Exactly. He argued that the happiness you get from satisfying a truly raw, untamed impulse is like way more intense, incomparably more intense, than the satisfaction you get from a controlled, tamed impulse.
So that explains why forbidden things can feel so attractive. They promise that raw intensity.
That's his argument. They bypass the internal sensors, but, and this is crucial.
He wasn't saying go wild, was he?
No, definitely not. He saw the dilemma. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, no guaranteed path to happiness or what he called salvation. Everyone has to find their own way, depending on their basic psychological makeup.
He talked about different types, didn't he? Based on where people find satisfaction.
Yeah, broadly 3 types. The erotic type, focused on love and relationships needing to be loved, fearing loss of love. Then the narcissistic type, finding satisfaction more internally, self-sufficiency, intellect, maybe spirituality. And finally, the man of action, seeking satisfaction by mastering the external world, achieving things.
Most people are probably a mix, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. But understanding your dominant tendency, where your elephant naturally seeks its energy, helps the writer know, where to focus its efforts.
This idea of the elephant being shaped by the past, that connects really well with transactional analysis, right? The old tapes idea.
Definitely. Thomas Harris's work on the parent-adult-child ego states. The problem often comes from the not okay child state.
Explain that, the not okay child.
It's basically the stored feelings from childhood, helplessness, inadequacy, fear. When something happens in the present, like criticism from a boss, it doesn't just trigger an adult response. It can hit the parent, internalized rules, the adult, rational thought, and the child, old feelings all at once.
And the elephant, the child part, reacts like it's back in that original situation.
Exactly. It replays the old tape. See? I'm not good enough. The feeling is intense and feels totally real in the present, even if it's based on something from decades ago.
So how does the writer step in? How do you objectify the dilemma?
The adult state, the writer, needs to create some distance. Instead of getting swept away and thinking, I am a failure, the adult observes, okay, wow, that's a strong feeling. That's my not okay child reacting to that criticism with that old I'm unworthy tape.
Ah, so naming it, seeing it as an old pattern, not a current truth.
Precisely. Just acknowledging it as an old state, a memory being triggered, strengthens the adult and creates a space for choice. You're not fused with the feeling anymore.
And this emotional hijacking happens so fast. Daniel Goleman's work on emotional state specificity really highlights how little control the writer has when strong feelings take over.
It's what he calls the tyranny of emotion. When a powerful feeling hits rage, terror, even intense infatuation, it completely changes the landscape of your mind.
How so? It just clouds judgment.
It does more than that. It actually reorganizes your memory and your perceived options. If you're enraged, your brain prioritizes memories of past wrongs, thoughts of attack, ways to lash out, all thoughts of calm negotiation or compromise. They just vanish from the menu temporarily. The elephant takes the wheel, and the rider's basically shoved into the back seat.
Okay, so we've got this powerful elephant, often running on old emotional programs, and a writer who's easily overwhelmed and prone to making excuses. The challenge, then, is training that elephant. Where do we start? James Clear talks about habits, right? Once they're automatic, the writer's out of the loop.
Absolutely. The first step in changing behavior is just awareness. Once something becomes an unconscious habit, you stop thinking about it. The writer isn't involved anymore, so you have to bring the habit, or at least the cue for it, back into conscious awareness.
How do you do that? What are the practical tools?
Clear suggests a couple of simple but really effective things. One is the habits scorecard. Literally, just track your habits for a day or two. Write down everything, grabbing your phone, making coffee, snacking. Just seeing it written down makes the unconscious conscious.
Okay, that makes sense. Just noticing. What else?
The other one is pointing and calling. This comes from, believe it or not, Japanese train conductors.
Really? How does that work?
To improve safety, they don't just check a signal mentally. They physically point at it and say out loud, "Signal is green." It forces conscious attention. You can do the same thing. Walk into the kitchen feeling that urge to snack. Point at the fridge and say, "I am going to the fridge for a snack."
Huh. It sounds a bit silly, but I can see how that would interrupt the autopilot.
It totally does.
Yeah.
That tiny pause, that moment of verbalizing the action, brings the rider back online
Hmm.
and gives you a split second to choose differently.
Okay, so awareness is step one. But then you have to make the good habit appealing to the elephant, right? Temptation bundling.
Yes, this is genius. You link something you want to do with something you should do. The classic example is the student, Ronan Byrne, who hooked up his exercise bike to his TV.
Oh, I remember reading about that. Netflix only played if he pedaled.
Exactly. He wanted the entertainment, Netflix, so the elephant provided the energy for the chore, cycling. It brilliantly uses a craving to drive a less desirable but necessary action.
That's leveraging the elephant's desires. What about reframing, changing the story the writer tells?
That's crucial too. Often we frame good habits in terms of sacrifice. Saving money means I can't buy things I want. That feels like deprivation to the elephant.
So you flip the script.
You flip the script. Saving money isn't deprivation. It's buying freedom. It's increasing your security, your future options. You frame exercise not as punishment, but as building energy and vitality. Changing the rider's narrative makes the path much more attractive to the elephant.
Okay, so we're talking habits. What about bigger challenges? Dealing with real adversity, trauma. Haidt cautions against that simple, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger idea.
He's right to caution against it. It's just not always true. Trauma can be deeply damaging, full stop. But research on post-traumatic growth shows that some people do find ways to grow and deepen their lives after terrible experiences.
It's not automatic, though.
Definitely not. It often involves consciously working on your explanatory style, how you explain bad events to yourself. This is the core of learned optimism, from Seligman and Duckworth.
Learned optimism, it sounds like. Cognitive therapy you give yourself.
In a way, yeah. It's about training the rider to challenge pessimistic thinking. A pessimist sees setbacks as their fault, internal, permanent, always, and affecting everything, pervasive. An optimist tends to see them as due to circumstances, external, temporary just this time, and specific just this one area.
And training people to shift that perspective actually helps.
Significantly. Studies show resilience training, teaching people to adopt a more optimistic explanatory style, leads to lower rates of anxiety, depression, and pessimism over time. It helps the elephant bounce back faster.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And related to bouncing back, there's the simple power of just talking or writing about bad experiences. Self-disclosure.
James Pennebaker's work on this is fascinating. He found that bottling up trauma and stress is physically harmful. The act of translating chaotic emotional experiences into language, whether talking to someone or just writing it down privately, is incredibly beneficial.
How does writing help?
It forces you to organize the chaos. You have to put feelings and fragmented memories into a linear structure, create a narrative. This gives the writer something to work with, a way to process the experience.
And it has physical effects, too.
Remarkable ones. People who consistently wrote about upsetting events showed improvements not just in mood, but in actual physical health markers, like improved immune function specifically, better T lymphocyte activity. Basically, processing your emotional distress through language can literally make your body stronger.
Wow. Emotional coherence impacting physical immunity. That's powerful. This leads us nicely into another crucial practice for resilience, self-compassion, which, let's be honest, can sound a bit soft.
Yeah, Kristen Neff tackles that perception head on. She argues self-compassion isn't self-pity, which just wallows, and it's not self-indulgence, which avoids responsibility. It's a necessary active practice for dealing with suffering. She breaks it down into 3 core parts.
Okay, let's get those clear. What are the 3 elements?
First, mindfulness. Just noticing your suffering without immediately trying to fix it or getting totally lost in it. Seeing clearly, okay, this hurts right now.
Acknowledging it without judgment.
Exactly. Second, common humanity. This is huge. Recognizing that pain, failure, imperfection, it's part of being human. Everyone struggles. It counters that awful feeling of isolation, that why me feeling.
Okay, mindfulness, common humanity,
Yeah.
and the third.
Kindness. Treating yourself with the same warmth, support, and understanding you'd offer a good friend who was suffering. Not beating yourself up, but actively supporting yourself through it.
And Neff talks about needing both fierce and tender compassion, right?
Yes, this is so important. Tender compassion is that comforting, nurturing side. But fierce compassion is about protecting yourself, setting boundaries, saying no, motivating change, even getting angry about injustice.
And sometimes we avoid that fierce side.
Especially women, she argues, are often socialized to avoid rocking the boat. but sometimes the boat needs rocking. True self-compassion means having the courage to stand up for your needs and challenge situations that are causing harm, not just passively accepting suffering. You need both tenderness and fierceness.
Okay, we've talked about training the elephant, building resilience, but Haidt emphasizes the elephant is fundamentally a social creature. Our deepest happiness often comes from connection with.
Absolutely. Transcending our own narrow self-interest and connecting with others, with something larger, that's where hate sees real meaning emerging. And it starts with our most basic biological wiring for attachment.
This goes back to those famous, maybe slightly disturbing monkey experiments by Harlow.
Yeah, Harry Harlow's work was groundbreaking, if ethically questionable today. He gave baby monkeys a choice between a wire mother that provided milk and a soft cloth mother that offered nothing but comfort.
And they chose the comfort, didn't they? Even over food.
Overwhelmingly. They'd only dash to the wire mother for a quick drink, then spend almost all their time clinging to the cloth mother.
Hmm.
It proved that contact comfort, the need to hold and be held, for physical closeness and security, is an innate primary drive, maybe even stronger than hunger.
That has huge implications for adult relationships, especially love. Levine and Heller's work on attachment styles, they make a key distinction.
They do. They point out that the roller coaster of anxiety, insecurity, jealousy, when it happens when our attachment system gets activated and fearful, is not the same as deep, passionate love. We often mistake that drama for intensity.
So what does real, secure love feel like, according to them?
Peace of mind. Security. Their phrase is, still waters run deep. When you feel truly secure with someone, your nervous system calms down. You're not constantly scanning for threats or reassurance. That frees up so much energy to actually live your life and engage with the world together.
What if you recognize you have an insecure style, anxious maybe, or avoidant? Can the writer help change that programming?
Yes, because memory isn't fixed. Levine and Heller suggest looking back at past relationships through an attachment lens. Understanding why you acted anxiously or why you pushed people away, it helps you rewrite the script.
So reinterpreting past experiences.
Exactly. Realizing that, say, your anxious protest behavior didn't actually bring your partner closer, it created distance. The adult writer analyzes the old patterns and helps the elephant learn more secure ways of relating in the future. It's about updating your working model of relationships.
Okay, so secure connection is foundational. What about meaning? Martin Seligman's work in positive psychology identified more than just feeling good as key to flourishing.
Right. Seligman talks about authentic happiness having three pillars: positive emotion, feeling good, the pleasure part; engagement, being absorbed in what you do, flow; and meaning, using your strengths for something bigger than yourself.
Engagement. That's the flow state, right? Getting lost in an activity.
Yes, exactly. And Seligman, like Haidt and Csikszentmihalyi, emphasizes that this state, this deep satisfaction, comes from using your unique signature strengths, which ties into Haidt's point about goals.
That the journey matters more than the destination.
Precisely. The writer focuses on the goal, the promotion, finishing the project, but the actual moment of achievement is often brief, sometimes even anticlimactic. Haidt calls it like the relief of taking off a heavy backpack.
Not that satisfying in itself.
Not compared to the process. If the hike itself was miserable, that brief moment of relief isn't worth it. Real lasting satisfaction comes from the engagement along the way, the feeling of competence and flow while using your strengths during the journey.
But finding that kind of meaning isn't always straightforward, especially today.
No. Csikszentmihalyi points out that unlike in the past, meaning isn't just handed to us by tradition anymore. We have to actively create it through reason and choice. This means identifying our own life themes or a central project, some overarching goal that gives significance to our everyday actions.
So the writer needs to help the elephant find a meaningful direction, not just chase random pleasures.
Exactly. It's about structuring life around activities that allow for flow and contribute to that larger purpose. And Brené Brown talks about the attitude needed for this: wholehearted living.
What does that involve?
She says it's built on cultivating courage, compassion, and connection, and crucially requires embracing vulnerability. It's rooted in the belief, basically, okay, I'm imperfect, I get scared, I mess up, but I'm still brave, and I'm still worthy of love and belonging.
Accepting the messy reality of being human.
Yes. That self-acceptance quiets the shame and fear that often stop the elephant from forming genuine, deep connections.
Which brings us back to Haidt's idea of transcendence, getting beyond pure self-interest.
Right. He argues we have this capacity to feel part of something larger, a team, a community, a cause. That feeling of being part of a whole is incredibly rewarding. Maslow saw this in deep love relationships too, that desire for intimacy, for fusion, even fantasies of making huge sacrifices for the loved one. It's a genuine move beyond just looking out for number one.
And to keep those vital connections strong over time, especially marriage, Gottman's research keeps coming back to one thing.
Forgiveness. It's not just a nice to have, it's essential. For a relationship to thrive long term, partners have to be able to forgive each other, to let go of past hurts and resentments.
Holding on to bitterness just weighs the elephant down.
Terribly. It's like carrying, well, a heavy backpack full of grudges. Forgiveness benefits both people. It releases that burden and allows the relationship, the shared journey, to actually move forward.
Wow. We've covered a lot of ground here, really digging into this writer and elephant framework. It seems clear the writer, our rational self, isn't always in control and is often just explaining things after the fact.
Yeah, it's more like a commentator than a commander much of the time. And happiness, or maybe flourishing is a better word, comes from consciously training that emotional elephant.
Through things like building awareness of habits, developing resilience with better ways of explaining setbacks, practicing real self-compassion, both the gentle and the fierce kind.
And grounding ourselves in secure relationships and a sense of meaning that goes beyond just ourselves. It's about integrating the ancient wisdom about virtue and meaning with the modern science of how our minds actually work.
So for you listening, navigating this complex world, maybe the takeaway is that the writer's best role isn't total control, but wisely choosing where the elephant should invest its incredible energy.
Like, that's right. Which leads us to a final, maybe slightly uncomfortable thought, drawing on Barry Schwartz's work on the paradox of choice.
Yes, the idea that more choice isn't always better. We assume freedom and endless options lead to happiness.
But Schwartz argues the opposite can be true. Having too many choices forces constant calculation, constant trade-offs. You're always thinking about the opportunity cost, the good things you missed out on by choosing something else.
And this is especially hard for maximizers, people who feel they have to make the absolute best choice every time.
Exactly. That constant pressure to optimize everything creates anxiety and dissatisfaction. Schwartz even links this maximizing tendency to higher rates of unhappiness and depression in modern life.
Because the writer is constantly stressed about making the perfect choice, and the elephant is always wondering if the grass was greener elsewhere.
You got it. So the real wisdom, perhaps, isn't trying to have it all or make every single decision perfect. It might be about learning to make good enough choices satisfying, Herbert Simon called it, especially regarding the big things that feed the elephant's need for connection and meaning. And then, and this is key, finding the freedom to let go, to stop worrying about optimizing everything else that doesn't truly matter.
Choose your battles, train your elephant wisely, and find peace by not needing everything to be perfect.
That seems to be a core message. That's how the rider and elephant might actually find some lasting harmony.